Trade facilitation is a set of policies, procedures, formalities, techniques, customs techniques, and border measures to facilitate the movement of goods, clearance of goods, reuse of goods. That is what we negotiate in the WTO.
How can you trade when you don't know what are the rules of the game? Can you spend time running from one administration to the other to bring a copy of a document that was issued by one of these administrations to start with?
There are countries in Pacific region, for instance, where clearance of a given good it takes half an hour, and there are some African countries where even in between neighboring countries the same procedure would take 30 days.
What we need to do is eliminate all the burdensome process of exporting and importing.
It is important to have a trade facilitation framework in the WTO because we think that this would give an impetus to the implementation of trade facilitation reforms. Mainly this is because of the binding nature of the WTO framework.
Red tape also affects exports. It is the producer, very often a poor producer, that will lose out. But also, we have to keep in mind that many productive activities in countries have a very high import content.
La douane ne doit pas être un obstacle au commerce. Toute notre stratégie est basée sur une fluidité du trafic. Tout est fait pour effectivement faciliter les contrôles, mais que les contrôles soient faits également dans la rigueur qui est demandée, car notre travail d'abord, c'est de contrôler des marchandises avant tout.
Measures related to increase transparency on planned or adopted legislation relating to customs procedures and other trade-related procedures is essential for traders and other economic operators.
We are negotiating that physical control of goods in transit should be done at entry and exit, which would reduce delays, which would reduce undue charges, so that in itself can be a great contribution.
If, as a trader, you are able to fill in all the paperwork and clear with the customs administration, for instance, your shipment of tractors, before the shipment itself arrives at the port, then as soon as it arrives, you're able to walk with your goods without any undue delays.
The international trade single window in Mexico currently benefits more than 30 actors from 2010 to 2011 in terms of the document preparation for exports. It reduced from 10 days required to 6 days, and in the side of inputs from 14 days to only 5 days.
Least developed countries don't have to do anything they're not capable to do.
Undertaking trade facilitation reforms would require investment in terms of money, infrastructure, and also capacity. So the special and differential treatment chapter aims to give flexibilities to developing countries and least developed countries by giving them extra time for implementation or giving them technical assistance in order to help them to implement.
I think trade facilitation is a development opportunity. You know, frankly, there's nothing that a country can do to change its natural resource endowment, or it can't move physically closer to its export markets. So what a country can and should do is to give their traders every opportunity to compete on a level playing field with their competitors.
We believe trade facilitation is good for all countries. but in particular for landlocked countries. A country which doesn't have access to the sea, it's a huge constraint to trade.
The trade facilitation agreement within the WTO is very important for Mexico since we want to see ourselves as a top competitive economy.
Trade facilitation would further attract investment. It makes Malaysia more attractive as an investment destination, and it will also help Malaysia to be a part of the global supply chain.
For me, the ones who will be the immediate winners will be the small and medium-sized enterprises. Multinational companies don't have big problems. I mean, they have the means in order to go through the customs procedures.
We are genuinely convinced that this agreement can bring about a big support for developing countries in the WTO in their modernization efforts.
If we do away with the duplicative procedures, the ones that do not serve an important purpose, we could reduce those costs by 10%, which would correspond more or less to $400 billion per year.
If you see this from the side of the employment, how many jobs can be created with such an increase, then we can certainly affirm that it's worth fighting for that deal.
For every dollar spent on improving your customs regimes in developing countries, there's a return of up to $70 in economic benefits that spread throughout the economy.
That's a huge pot of available benefits, both for developing countries, who then could benefit more easily from reaching out to the global market, and also for developed countries.